Hi, it's Gab, and I'm reviewing The Place Beyond the Pines, a new drama, if ever there was a drama, of somewhat epic proportions, quite long, by Derek Cianfrance, who is the writer-director of Blue Valentine from a few years ago, starring Ryan Gosling, a gritty, some would say quite realistic, subtle, nuanced study of a marriage in disintegration. This is a broader story, if some may say, about nuanced particular characters, but with broad strokes of moral ambiguity and lessons, and you might even say a fable in some ways, or I might say that, but we'll get to that later. Also starring Ryan Gosling, obviously is the center of the publicity marketing for this film, but this film is really in 3 chapters. The first being focused on Ryan Gosling's character. He's a motorcycle rider, becomes a bank robber, petty criminal drifter who finds out that he has a baby boy and decides he wants to provide and perhaps turn his life around if that's possible. The second chapter focuses on Bradley Cooper as a cop who becomes involved in Ryan Gosling's story, obviously, and then what proceeds from there. And the third chapter takes place 15 years after the first main story, and I won't get into that too much. I don't want to spoil where this story goes. It goes in interesting, intense places, and I would say perhaps somewhat predictable places, again, because of the moral aspects of this story and lessons perhaps trying to be learned by the characters or not learned, but what the writer, the filmmaker is trying to portray, the legacy of our fathers' mistakes, the choices that we make, trying to do right, what is right and wrong, our ideas of the right thing to do by our children, by our families, the right and wrong of the law, of course, and how these things sort of interweave. And as I say, I think is somewhat of a fable in the overall story and lessons it's trying to convey, using these characters. I did not find the characters as nuanced and believable as I was hoping to, perhaps based on the background of Cianfrance. They were interesting characters, but I didn't find them entirely believable, and I found their motives and ultimately the storyline somewhat predictable. This ground has been trod before in drama, and I didn't feel it brought too much new to the table in terms of the story, the characters' arcs, and what they were trying to convey and how the story came together. I found the first chapter, as I described it, to be the strongest, or certainly the most entertaining. I'm a diehard Gosling fan, I can't help it. I found him to be magnetic and electrifying as usual, and I enjoyed watching him the most. I'm not a huge fan of Bradley Cooper. As a rule, he was okay, but I wasn't as drawn in by his character, or that part of the story was quite rote. And then the third chapter I didn't quite like very much at all. It's more of a story centered on youth, and again, didn't love the performances. One of the young actors you'll recognize as the lead from Chronicle, if you're a fan of him, and I did not entirely get on board with where those characters went or even how they were portrayed. So mathematically, if you break it down into the 3, as a whole, I wouldn't give this film high marks, as I liked it less and less as it went along. And of course that hurts the film as a whole, particularly as it's sort of a downsliding scale. But when you think about the film overall, it was very ambitious in its scope and the way that it attempted to tie the threads of the characters' legacies and mistakes, and what haunts them and how it comes together, or maybe, is it or is it not resolved? Is anything like that complicated in life truly resolved? But as I say, saying in life, this didn't have as much gritty realism as I was sort of expecting and maybe hoping for. It was a little bit much, if I could put it that way. That's how my husband summed it up. It was a bit much, and so not satisfying on that really gut-grabbing level that I was hoping for, but very thought-provoking, if not entirely moving. I think that is a film worth seeing for what it attempts to do structure-wise, story-wise, if not moral-wise, and some of the performances, if not all of them. So Place Beyond the Pines, if you're a fan of Ryan Gosling, of Blue Valentine, of Cien France, or any of the other actors, and just, you know, heavy, deep drama with, you know, you have to invest in the whole story and have patience and give it benefit of the doubt to watch it come together, and hopefully you'll check it out and enjoy it. So I give Place Beyond the Pines 3 and I want to say 3/4 gabs, maybe 8, 9/10 gabs. I want to like it a bit more than I did, but let me know what you think. Place Beyond the Pines. Thanks for watching.